Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Now TV Canada. And I am Just Jen YouTube channel. I am Just Jen, aka the writer of the Smallville reunion movie. Uh, You've Got Mail 2 and 3, uh, and Supergirl 2, 3, and 4, which Donald Trump is in. And so I'm working like mad, contacting CBC, the Premier, Post, a Canada Post, and trying to come up with other places where I can just send emails or inexpensive envelopes without sending big packages at my expense, because I'm done with that, to try and help solve what's going on right now with everybody on both sides of the border. That said, I keep getting annoyed with these stupid little news feeds, and one of them is about the tariffs being put on hold by Donald for Canada. Phone call with Justin, and then Justin flying around, like shaking hands with him again. I'm getting really annoyed with this public image stuff. So I already said in previous episodes that it's time to stop selling fentanyl, stop making it, period. No one in the world anywhere needs to get high on fentanyl. And we don't need fentanyl to use for pain. There's no amount of pain a person could be in where you would need to use fentanyl as the only solution for that person's pain. With Demerol and alternative variations of morphine added with it, it does the job. It's not dangerous. It's not life-threatening. It's less addictive. It's always been there, and nobody talks about it. Also, as for a street drug from pharmacy world, that's a good high and also not addictive. Once upon a time, there was lithium. So I can go on to say that it's just not been necessary for people to be dying from fentanyl. To use pharmacy war as a way of getting rid of natural people that belong here with the right training to be able to work and have jobs in order to keep those jobs for yourself and take them away from us is wrong. And today my trip to the hospital was kind of like that, because I was surrounded by just another world. Like, I don't know where I was. It was such a mixture. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go there. If I wanted to go there, I would be living there. And I had to be grateful and pray to Jesus, stay with me all the way through it, because I wasn't there. At the end of the day, when I got out of the hospital, I could come home, come back down to the downtown east side, and and have my salvation here. So I wanted to talk about Justin and his dad. If people were actually caring about who they're voting in, and it really mattered, and if it was actually Canadians that were voting, then people would know some stuff. And people don't know this stuff. And I've known this stuff for years. And it's relevant. It is super, 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 super important. If you know this stuff, then you know not to vote somebody in, and to know why. So, Justin's dad, let's go first here with his dad. Justin's dad also had 2 terms. So Pierre Elliott was prime minister from 68 to 79 for the first time, and the second time from 80 to 84. Those years, I was born in 75, were living hell for me. And I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't understand what was going on. Why is this happening? There's no justice. Now, today, I understand the rate of crime that we're living through in the small police force, and half of it has good people, and the other half of the police force has people that just don't care. They're just in it for the money, or just have no sense of understanding our culture or our country, and it just isn't different. Not focused on solving crimes, or even pushing that, oh, if there's not enough evidence, then we can't lay charges. So they just let the criminals roam, and they just keep doing what they do. Now, my thing here with his father, Pierre Trudeau, which really upsets me, that people would vote Justin in and not knowing this, and that Justin would grow up not knowing this, about why his mom got shit on, why she got such a hard press, why it was looked at like it was all her fault, why she had some emotional, mental health issues, because the law to not be allowed to rape your wife or abuse your wife was in effect. It was in effect. You were allowed to abuse your family. You were allowed to abuse your partner throughout his entire first term, Pierre Trudeau. And it did not end until the end of Pierre Trudeau's second term. And during those years, I had my life turned upside down. I had the shit raped out of me. Innocence, naivety, first time boyfriends, steady. I didn't get to be a virgin until I graduated high school, till I found a boyfriend to fall in love with me. You know, the song where I wish I had a boyfriend, the kind that knows how to make love because he's in it. And it took me a long time to figure it out. I had to ask and ask and ask and look and look and look. Why did this happen? What's going on here? And so during Justin's reign, I had found the answer because I had gone looking for the law. I didn't go looking for Justin's dad. I just went looking for the answer to the law of when did Canada change its law to when a woman could then press charges and have the ability to seek freedom, where police are meant to help protect her, hospitals, doctors, etc. So Bill C 127 came into effect on January 4th, 1983, making sexual assault against one's wife an offense. And that a wife could also charge her husband with aggravated sexual assault if the crime included a beating. Now, everybody knows about the Quran and those people in those worlds, how they still oppress women, like even when you can drive. But his dad would have been able to have been influenced by the material he'd read and the association from traveling to those places, which he would have taken his family to see, and stuff that he would have influenced Justin by to give us the mess we're now in. Now, I've never read word for word what it is, but it is in there that they firmly believe, right? If you don't do what we tell you to do, we can do whatever we want in order to get our way. And that they call that religion, right? They don't believe that Jesus Christ died for everyone's sins and that he's the Son of God. So it's no good to the world, and it's no good to be here in a world where we are Christians and there are more for God, the true God, than against God. It's not going to create a future. You're not going forward. You're going forward backwards, because that's the whole point of God making a promise with Moses and getting all of the Israelites out of Egypt and getting us out of slavery. Now, the rate of crime that has happened in country of Canada during Justin's reign is so high, you can't do nothing about it. It just doesn't stop. Every day I get these feeds. Now, recently, I'm getting this information about all these dead bodies that have been found in boats that came from other countries trying to get to someplace they think is paradise. And then they dehydrate and starve to death because something goes wrong in the boats, and their state of decomposition is so bad they can't be identified. And other details can't be released because they can't find it. And it's not okay. You can't just keep coming over here and coming over here and coming over here. But in essence, it's just showing that the devil never stops. The devil never ends. He just won't quit. He just keeps going and going and going and going and trying to bring over the pollution as much as he can to try to take down God's number of people. Yet he fails to understand that you cannot kill Jesus twice and that the resurrection is coming. Right? And at some point, God's going to be like, yeah, no, you can't go any further. I'm done. I'm going to do something about it. So now I'm just here on God's side as an advocate of saying that Jesus is with us and that we're at that time now where we're going to see some magnificent changes take place to make sure that this death rate, these crimes, so that there can be remaining Canadians in a country where we can maybe fix it and still make it Canada again, will be a possibility, where it would be safe for us to have children in Canada and raise kids in Canada. Because as it is right now, I can't have any more kids here. I can't go to public schools with my kids and the mixture of what's going on here based on radical beliefs opposite of God. There was a guy that was murdered in Surrey by a 21-year-old boy that was adopted from another country who was the hitman, and they're all praising the guy that passed away, who had been gotten off of some sort of Air India crime from way back when in the 80s. And then he went and did all kinds of good things for the community, but he still did something bad. And so I guess over time, people around that bad thing decided, well, we want restitution for it. And this young kid was so young, and it had no connection to him. Him and his buddy did this. Now, they're in the paper talking about, the time served in prison. He's going to have to be in 20 years without parole for a possibility of parole. But he's still going to be young enough that he can still have some part of his life back. But I just lost it when they're like, oh, the guy that died was some kind of special powerhouse. A powerhouse to what? To the Lord of Jesus Christ, our King over all the earth, that is going to come to earth and rule over earth with his heavenly kingdom. A powerhouse to what? To Jehovah being the true God and the creator of all things on earth? Like, if God wasn't real, and if this God wasn't my God, if this was all not true, I wouldn't exist. Then I wouldn't have these stats. I'm not making this stuff up. It's been there for people to find on their own. So why I'm sharing this in this episode is because the true Canadians have been slowly doing a revolt. They're not voting. It's called an uprising. Now, when Justin was voted in his first term, it was really bad. There was like 17 million voters. And of those 17 million voters across the country, only 4 million voted for him. The population of Canada is 40 million almost, right? Because the killing is happening so bad. The death rate is so high, it's impossible. We don't even stay at 40 million, or even get to 40 million, rather. I don't consider that a real win. If only 4 million people voted out of 17 million in a country that voted, that shows there's an uprising, because it means that the majority isn't voting. And Justin fails to understand that the majority that isn't voting are the real Canadians. The people that are voting are the criminals. And that is how you can see where the true crime rate going up at the highest in its ever political history takes place, because he worked with them and the laws that they wanted to have in order to have his time in office, compromising, using people that had earned their right to vote in Canada, though they are not natural Canadians, in order to be able to vote him in, because they can get what they want voting him in, because he will do what they want for them. Shaking hands with Donald Trump now, after I had already made these videos days ago about saying no more fentanyl, to say, oh, I'll talk to Cesar about fentanyl, right? It's not your idea. You weren't the first one to come up with it. That's not an original thought. So I'm saying that if true Canadians knew that Pierre Trudeau, had served 68 to 79 and 80 to 84 in front of the world, married to Justin's mom, with the right to abuse her, then we can understand why she would at some point have to go find love and safety from another man, because that man would be the only way she could get any sort of defense shield, because a man can go up against a man in a way where, I can take you down, right? Where she don't have to worry about somebody trying to say it's her fault because it's law. So books that say that men can do this to women shouldn't even be in our country. It isn't law. It is illegal. And now, in recent times, because of the 10-year difference of legalizing drugs and trying to allow drug dealing to go on over the counter, I don't know where anybody's head is on that one. That's not religion, right? God wrote a Bible. God is who he is, and God never changed his mind about any of that. So we go on in this, and I come across this story in my feed. A BC man helped launder tens of millions of dollars of criminal cash, having to do with criminal organizations That's just in 2022. All of it around drugs, primarily marijuana, and using the stores that are acting as fronts that are now selling all kinds of different forms of marijuana. So again, the answer is to shut down these shops and make marijuana illegal like it always was. Now, I'm not saying the plants don't have medicinal uses in them, but God never intended the medicinal use of it was to be abused, and that we're supposed to get high and call that medicine. The medicine in it is actually meant for people with severe seizures and stuff, and you don't get high on it, and it's just a liquid that you take. And the same thing with cocaine. Yes, there are medicinal benefits in the plants. And yes, some countries have already studied the plant and extracted the stuff that's good and made products in their country that are good for health, like guts, gassy issues, weight issues, people with my disease. So unfortunately, I can't order those products because we don't sell them here. And then to try and say, oh, we've got a factory in mind, we're going to try to do this with this company, we've got it all set up. Well, if it's all laundering and illegal, then it can't possibly be legitimate, and you can't possibly trust it. And with all the dead that we've had, it'd be insane to go forward with that. So it's not Justin coming up with a solution to keep the tariffs away. It's me telling everybody I already said that. It's me telling everybody that I had movies finished being written and ready to go over 10 years ago. The entire time he's been in office. I emailed him the day after he got in, and I spent 5 years trying to reach him, and so he could be in something and present maybe the possibility that there might be something that isn't jellyfish or real rather than spineless about him. It's not working. So in the feed, you show this here in my feed. I'm not saying where it's from, but it says Saskatoon police sees 8 kilograms of fentanyl during a traffic stop. Right? That is not credit that goes to Justin Trudeau. And in the same feed, they're yapping about him, yapping about 25% tariffs on $155 billion worth of U.S. imports. And the whole point Donald Trump's trying to make about the tariffs is not the actual tariffs or the money. It's about the damn drugs. But Justin doesn't know the stats about anything. He doesn't know about that information about his dad. Like, would he have run for prime minister if he had known that his dad was an abusive man? He wasn't so good. He wasn't friends with my God, not friends with me. Terrorized my childhood without even know who I am, existentially. Because I could just rip a hole in this whole thing by the time I was old enough, because I was intelligent enough to read and check history and learn from this and not be afraid to talk about it. He's not the hero. He's the guy that created the problem. And shaking Donald's hand, talking about what we're going to do about fentanyl. I'll go talk to somebody about fentanyl. Doesn't make him the savior. It doesn't make him the guy with the answer. Basically, he's already been fired. Here we go again. This is my beef. This is what Donald's saying. Number of crime groups involved in fentanyl doubled last year alone. Now you see him signing stuff, right? You see Donald is not upset with me to give me back my gun and give me a badge of a higher color than just security, and I can keep doing this for Donald. Giving him immediate information that he needs that he ain't getting from his White House. Getting information that nobody's giving to Justin, that nobody in the Parliament of Canada's got, because nobody caring enough to sit down and look it up and take a whack at the stats for themselves. I'm not finished. I'm going to show you guys one more. And all of this was just the last week, 7 days of me reporting to Donald through this video. And this is where a shitload of Donald's money is right now. I'm not sure if he's going to get that back. Historic cocaine bust in Ontario, which had ties to Mexican drug cartel. So don't tell me that immigrants are Christians or rather whatever they're practicing is religious, and that they're good people, and that it's a good thing, and it's all right that they're here. As long as there's that many here, there will always be these versions of those bad people, and they will not stop doing this. And they will continue to try and addict and kill as many people as they can in this country to try to outpopulate so they have taken over the land, in spite of the fact that this land belongs to the Commonwealth and it's not for sale. It now needs to be that if there's that many of them, there needs to be segregations like the blacks did with schools, hospitals, and so on, to keep Christians who do believe in God, who do pray, and do request the help of the Holy Spirit to be protected when they're in surgical rooms, because God can't be where the devil is. That causes a higher ratio of death. You can't use the bad people to fix and heal the good people. They don't have the power to do that. They haven't got the gift. God is not using them as any tools, as any part of his plans. This is why I keep sharing these scriptures from the Bible the way that I do, so that it knocks home with people what God has repeatedly said from the beginning, and that what God is saying in the Bible is real. It's the truth, and it's not going to change. So if Donald's like, hey, it's off for 30 days, it's because I've sent a letter. And there's these videos, and maybe Donald will get to see this. In fact, maybe he'll sit in on a live one day. But the only person that can fix this is someone with the intelligence to know what needs to be done. This man here, King George V of England, concluding his 25-year reign, the British Empire, navigating World War I, and significant societal changes. This man here, God loved. This man here was a good man. And this man here is where the descendants of our royalty literally comes from now, and gets anointings by God through coronations in England. There's no such thing happening with anybody over there, overseas, in the days of the Bible that we're talking about through the line of David, because God has completely disassociated from it and said no more, because they just never learn. They never stop doing bad. They never stop choosing to turn away from him and focus on everything opposite of legal in one place, and then illegal in another, as if you can just come in and impose on where it's illegal and say, well, it's our religious rights. No, that's not religion. It's not your right. You haven't been here forever. This is not everybody. I'm not saying everybody's a criminal and we're all sinners. I'm saying that this is about the ones that are ruining it for the rest of us, and will not stop unless we stop them. So I understand that Donald meant well when he tried to make a deal with Mexico, pulling off for 30 days or whatever the military thing. That's not the answer. We have to give tough love. It's got to be harder than that. Like, I can show you guys how Christmas got started, and everybody can look it up in the Bible for themselves. The man behind the story of Father Christmas, better known as Santa Claus, lived in the 4th century AD in a place known as Patera. I guess it would have been a part of like the Roman empires at the time, and today it would be known as Turkey. And then there was another guy a little after that guy who took this date of December 25th and said, let's use that for the birth of Christ. But that date in the Bible is actually the release date of a man that was bad in the eyes of God. Although he was only 18, and by the grace of his youth, he was taken into prison by Nebuchadnezzar and got to live for 37 years, and then released at 55, and then put back up into his royal place by somebody who treated him kindly, because God was a very forgiving God. But that is the last history of there being any kind of royal connection between the real God and those people ever. And it's never going to reestablish itself again. that all these buildings and all these celebrations and things they do is not going to change any of that. It's not going to make any lies the truth. Crime is not religion. Upon Nicholas's death, a memorial was erected in the town he was later canonized as a saint in. The actual date for this guy's thing was December 6th. And then another guy chose to declare December 25th Jesus' birthday. So clearly he knew about the other bad guy who got released from prison on December 25th, 37 years later. So they're just celebrating themselves. Any cause, any reason, any way to boast about who they are and that they're important, that they're the most important, they're the best, and whatever. And it's wrong. It's ridiculous. And the story of Kris Kringle can be traced back to Germany, where it was believed that an elderly man called Christkind, or Christkind, brought presents to children on December 24th. And then there's that story got written in New York, and then people making these little carvings out of what a Santa Claus would look like. That part would be from God, because God makes a great Santa Claus because he loves children, he's compassionate, he loves laughter, and he does believe children deserve to have toys and have an imagination. But I wanted to express in Exodus 40, where it talks about God saying to Moses on the first day of the first month, you are to set up the tabernacles, the tent of meeting. You are to celebrate. Now, it's supposed to be on the 14th day of the month in the evening, and then you are to eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month, so 1 week long. So the celebration, in essence, is right. Then he had intended us to do this forever. It's just we've gotten the understanding and the dates information wrong because nobody's practicing anymore. Nobody takes the time to research it, and the answers have always been there in front of everybody. If I could find them and do it in less than 50 years, you could find them. You don't have to take my word for it. Look it up yourself. So what I want to go towards and why I talked about Justin's dad and his mom and the hard knocks reputation and the things they try to say about her is about evil, right? Because only bad would do that. Bad would try to make good look bad. Bad would try to make like it's good's fault. Sometimes you can't make it look bad no matter how hard you try, and the more you try, the badder you look because you are the bad. And there are now people all over the place that look as bad as they are, and that's what Donald Trump is freaking out about. He doesn't want that coming across his border. He doesn't want more of the death toll that we have in here that I'm not finished talking about. I haven't finished listing off the names of the dead from the Wikipedia list. I haven't sat down and actually collected the names of the people that have died on fentanyl across Canada since the year that Justin took office in 2015. I haven't talked about recent crimes of murders from the time he took office in 2015, not the random list in Wikipedia, but specific to Justin's 10 years. I'm staying pretty focused on that. And I want to take that full number. And then I want to add in all the people that have died from MAID. And that's the other thing I've taken credit for, to say you heard it here first. Well, we're going to stop MAID, reverse it. Nobody asked God. Did God say that we could play God? Decide when a person's supposed to allow to take their life? The Bible specifically says that suicide is a sin. So if we're helping end-of-life care with people who are not terminally ill with anything, then there's an emotional mental health issue, a desperation of like, this country is going to hell. It's so bad here. I have no hope. I have no way of getting out. I just want to end it. That's not God saying, sure, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to support that. I'm in. That's a problem. Now that's somebody God has to bring back. That's an apology, right? Because somebody was thinking wrong about saying, sure, I'll help you do that. So we can save money on the healthcare system. And here's what really kills me. All of the amputated people, I couldn't figure out why there's so many of them. I didn't go to medical school and put my face in books for 8 years. I just grew up an intelligent person. Self-taught. This is not new. Hyperbolic oxygen treatment has been around in the United States for many decades. And the original ones were pretty cool, like iron lungs. Those things work. Now they've gotten it lightened up. They've gotten it pretty good, where people can be in the same space and help lots of people at the same time. And there are certain disorders, there's certain issues, like the gas poisoning that water guy trying to get famous, his mom had. One treatment reverses her disorder and she's cured. And so the poor guy didn't realize all the years that they had served their wife and mom was hypochondria. But that treatment would have fixed her. And so Canada has declared recently, believe it or not, in all these decades, hey, we don't have hyperbolic oxygen treatment chambers. So that excuses their right to say, well, instead of trying harder to kill the infection and raise the immune system to boost the red blood cells so that the body can fight infections and heal itself, we're just going to chop people up, cut them off. So you're going to be more for about disabling and dismembering an end of life than you are about life and about future. That scares me. That's to the point where, what are we doing with our medical system? Should we have one? It can't be trusted. It's not working right. The information isn't right. The knowledge that's coming from other countries and their beliefs and what they're pushing on us and what we need as an athlete like myself, as somebody who's previously already had gastric bypass. But I'm telling you right now, going through the stores, complaining to myself, I can't eat and use this stuff because it doesn't work for me. It doesn't qualify for me. It isn't right for what I need. It's going to hurt me, not help me. So now people are have trepidation. Who can I go to help from? Who can I trust? And you can't. So in the Bible, my lovely daily speaks, I pictured this, took a picture of this one. It's on a Wednesday, this one, and it says, it's a poem. It's called The Battle. Lord, I'm losing ground. The enemy haunts me. I feel like I'm wielding a squirt gun against a circle of slashing knives. How weary I am. I felt it. The touch of your hand. Hold mine tighter. Help me feel your strength. Fortify my weak armaments. Lord, I'm gaining ground. I'm bringing that up because I mentioned the picture. I'm going to go look for it. Of myself. It's in my John Schneider folder here. I gotta go down a few here. Found it. Schneider. Okay. That's it. That's me. I'm holding the squirting gun. Trying to get rid of all the evil and the bad that's around me. I did nothing wrong. You can see I'm not a bad child. It's love. Targeting love for obvious reasons, only to get rid of love because it's love and we want you gone. We want to get rid of love. But this little girl was being abused when Pierre Trudeau was in office. And because of that law and that time that he was in office and that time of abuse in my life and the amount of people that get abused, there's no charges laid against anybody. No arrests because there's so much crime. It's impossible. You can't do anything about it. 50% of the women, it's 1 out of 2, are abused, and less than half report it. Because Canada doesn't do anything about its crime. So I'm going to keep talking about it until there's enough help from wherever, King Charles, from England, from Donald, it doesn't matter, from Norway, from Netherlands, Denmark. I'll do what I have to do to get the people that are going to come here and help us finally do something to rectify the history of a country that is no more. I can tell you the country that was here that we had before he got into office is gone. The people I walk around with on the streets here in the downtown east side were not in the same country when they were born that we're all walking around living in now. And that's devastating because a soulless country isn't a country at all. That's not a way to live. The Liberal Party isn't good people. The other thing I'm telling you guys, there's no more Liberal Party, no more voting liberals. Everybody who's liberal that did all this voting, that helped commit all these crimes, you're done. It's finished. It's over. Everybody being a Justin, all the criminals that voted him in, right? The law is coming after you. You're going down. And that guy, ridiculous. This guy that did all the stuff in 2 years, he was released within 4 days. After all that laundering on his own. What? Why make the arrest? Now there's another stabbing, death outside a Coquitlam pub. So I'm just going to keep reporting this stuff because it's too much. And shaking hands and flying around on airplanes is not going to fix it. And so it has to stop. I'm going to go now, but I'm going to end here. Man 25 in critical condition after daytime shooting in Vancouver's downtown east side. That was the most recent one. And I will come back and read more from the death list and the scriptures. Now that I got that out of my system about Justin and Pierre, all of the true Canadians, the majority that didn't vote for the 2 terms he's been in office, are the real Canadians. All of those Canadians, knowing this information about his father, would never vote for his son to be in office in order to repeat history. So if Justin has this attitude of thinking that there should be a certain amount of power or control that is in the man's hand only, well, his father taught him that, and he's wrong. There has to be restitution. Something has to be done. And we will keep on keeping on until something is done. I'm trying to find another little statistics here if I can find it. Hired and paid hitman killed Repudiman something, Singh Malik outside his Surrey, BC in 2022. He was known for some sort of air flight catastrophe, as they're famous for, and then was released, gotten off. And the kid that went to jail has never given up the name of the person that's hired him. So he's actually stayed solid on the grounds of the person who had their merits for choosing to do that. So what I'm saying is, if people want to go and look this up for themselves, they can. But I'm not going to show the faces of the families in this story because I don't support that. They're not kind of people I am, and they don't look like the kind of people that should be around people like me. And I know that God's going to do something now. And I'm willing to do my part talking about the crimes as much as possible to give Donald some leverage on the statistics of things that Justin doesn't have. So I wanted to end on the 8 qualities in relationships, power and control. Right? So Justin fits in this here somewhere. My ex fits in here somewhere. Well, the one man I married and divorced fits in here of my life, power and control. So physical abuse goes through isolation, controlling what she does, what she sees, and talks to, where she goes. Emotional abuse, putting her down or making her feel bad about herself, calling her names, making her think she's crazy, mind games. Everybody publicly watched this happening to Justin's mom. This happened with me, with my family, and this is happening with him. How he floats around shaking hands with people, avoiding the people that wanted to talk with him, meet with him, where actual true justice and change could be made, because he didn't want it. He wanted to put himself first. He wanted the reputation and the money and, more work or something. But he's going to go down as the prime minister with the worst history on creating the most crime and allowing in the highest amount of people from other parts of the world to replace the people that are dying here like horses to a slaughterhouse that we didn't need replaced, when we could have just keep having our own children and filling this country up with our love and making this country our home and keeping it our home. Trying to separate this country from the Commonwealth by doing that with immigrants is not going to work. You're just going to turn this place into a rat hole. It'll turn into a third world country. So it'll become economic abuse. How little our dollar is already worth. Trying to keep a person from getting or keeping a job. This happens to the white people that are here, the people on disability. It happens to the kids that are having kids that are trying to finish high school. This is just rampant here. Making her ask for money, giving her an allowance, and taking her money. Sexual abuse, making her do sexual things against her will, physically attacking the sexual parts of her body, treating her like a sex object, like my daughter getting kicked in the pajiji in kindergarten by one of these boys whose mother was white and he could do nothing about it, but had the clear hatred for girls. Where did he get that from? Pulling my daughter's hair and pushing her like he should have been expelled. You can't come to public school. You're violent and you need help. Using children, making her feel guilty about the children, using the children to give messages, using visitation as a way to harass her. I have this problem. She had that problem. Lots of people have had this problem. Threats, making and or carrying out threats to do something to hurt her emotionally. Threaten to take the children, commit suicide, report her to welfare, using male privilege. Treating her like a servant, making all the big decisions, acting like the master of the castle. Justin, you're definitely not the master of the castle. Intimidation, putting her in fear, using looks, actions, gestures, loud voice, smashing things, destroying her property. That's sort of how it feels for me, that he's just trying to destroy Canada, destroying my property, destroying my land, my animals, having a temper tantrum because it's not his and he can't do what he wants with it. And that's not going to work. He doesn't know anything about Canada. He's never lived in it. He's never walked across this country. He's never hitchhiked in it. He's never walked up and down the streets of the cities. He's never seen the poorest neighborhoods. He has no rights to a place he doesn't know how to live in because he's never lived in it. So that's not the kind of person to put in office. And so this is going to change. Donald responds to love and truth. If he sees merit and value and it's right, and he sees somebody has what it takes to do something that makes sense, he'll support that. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't need Justin in office. I don't need a man to tell me what to do. I have God, and I have my own brain and ability to research my own information. So I'm going to go and collect more information about the crimes that were busted last year. And I'm going to try to seek out pictures and information of those criminals. And in order to be able to explain to Donald that we're not the responsibility for all the drugs going into his country. We're so small of a country. It's impossible for us to be responsible for all of that. But we are doing a lot in our country to try to detox and contain the life, expand life, let people live in our country as best as we can because of this crisis in this last year. However, as we can see, it's just never enough. The devil is always out there doing something to try to negotiate a way to do his business one way or the other. And so we need to stop that. You know, even if it means stopping buildings from being used and burning books, we'll do whatever. I'm willing to discuss all that with Donald. But I'm hoping that the scripts and in the letters and the things I send to people, I'll finally get some retribution where people contact me and I can just not just be making videos, but actually meeting people. But I'm going to go to work now and enjoy my 1-hour skate program with my kids because I'm feeling up to it after the scope. Everything went well. Surgery is a go. He found what he needed to find in there to verify that I am suffering from what I said I've been suffering from all this time. So that's my piece for now. I'll come back with more of the drug statistics for last year's busts and some of the numbers of the dead from fentanyl and more names of those individuals that have passed away when I come back to talk about, do another issue of Let's Talk About Crime. Have a good day. Let's just stop Parliament. Don't vote. And don't vote Liberal. That's it. New party, new politics, new country. We can do this, even if we have to do new money. All right. Peace out, everybody. Stay safe, stay warm, and stay well. Superwoman, signing out.